Yeah, and before I start, as Michael said, I'm a Wurundjeri elder, and I do struggle with that at 49 years of age. You think of an elder as an old man in his 70s with a big white beard, but my dad's the oldest of five boys and two adopted, and he's lost two of his brothers, one in his 30s and one in his 50s. So I'm the oldest of the next generation. As we all know, Indigenous people lifespan's not quite as good as our non-Indigenous counterparts. So, yeah. And I was just saying to Kirsty before that we've had 5 deaths in the Aboriginal community in Melbourne in the last week. And I'm talking about fellas and ladies my age. So it's a common occurrence. So, yeah, we're just having a bit of a yarn, me and Kirsty. Look, firstly, I'd like to start off by acknowledging that, this morning we are meeting on the lands of my ancestors, the Wurundjeri people. And I'd like to take this opportunity to pay my respects to my elders, both past and present, elders from all nations, and everyone gathered this morning. Wominjeka, welcome. Wurundjeri Ball, Yemen Kondi Bik. The Wurundjeri people welcome everyone to the land today. Wurundjeri, no, Budumbo War, Kondi Nangnak, Dilbadan Bik Bulik Bor Tilikan. The Wurundjeri people want you to look after and protect the land as they did long before. Wurundjeri country extends from the inner city of Melbourne. It goes across the mountains of the Great Dividing Range, west to the Werribee River, south to the Mordialloc Creek and east to Mount Baw. And the Wurundjeri people are part of the Kulin Nations and of the Warrung language group. Hello, my name is Colin Hunter Jr. or Woolert, meaning possum, a name given to me by my grandmother as a young boy. I'm a proud and passionate 7th-generation Wurundjeri man and a direct descendant of Bibijan, who was Nalangeta, or head of the tribe at time at first settlement. It's through my grandmother, Gumbriar, meaning white dove, or Auntie Tiny, or Nana, she was known to us mob, that I have Aboriginal culture and heritage in my life today, so for that I say thanks, Nan. My grandmother was one of the last Aboriginal people born in the early 1920s, up at Corranderk Mission in Healesville, before she got moved up to Barmer on the Murray River, New South Wales. In Aboriginal culture, a great deal of respect is given to the land, the plants and the animals alike. And you would have noticed I placed some gum leaves down there on the table. Please, during the day, when you get an opportunity, please grab one and put it in your pocket. And the significance of that is they'll keep you safe while on country and give you the accesses to the resources while you're on country. While you're on Wurundjeri country, you're welcome to everything from the tops of the trees to the roots of the earth. So, Wominjeka, thank you. Look, before I go, I just want to apologise. I'll stay around for another 10 or so minutes. But I've got to dart off to a program that we do with the local community in Collingwood, where we take the program to the park. It's called the Billabong Barbecue program. So we deal with the mob from Smith Street. It's a social inclusion program and a healthy feed. So I'll be heading off to there. So I just wanted to apologise for that. But look, most of these days, you only get out of them what you put into them. So I hope that you have a great day and enjoy your time here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Colin. I'm Greg Sutherland, responsible for strategy and we say innovation at NAB. What we mean by that is how we adapt our company to the future. It's my great pleasure to, on behalf of NAB, to welcome you all here and to be hosting the Monash Sustainability Institute and this great event today. When Pavan arrives, I also wanted to welcome him, so you can tell him I welcomed him. We've been listening and learning to his work for some time, and it's a great thrill to have him here. Just briefly, it's interesting, and I hope you noted that it's that strategy's talking. My role in strategy is interested in this topic. It's not just a corporate responsibility and community issue about why the bank's engaged. Now, we've identified 2 or 3 issues that we think are absolutely fundamental to how we have to adapt to the future. The question of nature, of preserving it, of potentially bringing it into the economic system as a helpful way to preserve the sustainability of nature is something that the bank is deeply interested in. You might not know, but we're the biggest agri-lender in the country. We're also the biggest lender to business in the country. So we do honestly believe that the bank has a role in the future about how to preserve and provide a very adaptable ecosystem, as well as preserve and have an adaptable economic system. And whether they're the same thing and whether you can merge them together, I think is part of today's discussion. So on that note, thank you for coming. We're really grateful that we could host the event, and we're looking forward to some great conversations today. So thank you, and I'd like to now welcome David from the Monash Sustainability Institute. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. And first of all, I'd like to thank NAB for hosting us here today. It's great to have these facilities in the centre of Melbourne where we can meet. I think it's really opportune that we're meeting at this time. There seems to be a real sort of move around the world at the moment to take a fresh look at sustainability and take a fresh look at how we value various parts of our both natural system and social system. I mean, out of the Rio +20, I think most people's impression of that is that not really very much came out of it. But one thing that did come out was a commitment by the world's governments to develop sustainable development goals by 2016. And now people are starting to think about how, well, now that we've committed to actually do that, well, how do we do it? And one of the central themes of that development of those goals is how do we value things like natural capital and social capital? Because you can have goals about preserving the environment, but how do you then do that about and trade that off against other things? So the valuing of different forms of capital and how you trade those things off. If you think about China, for example, they've developed enormously, but what they've actually done is traded off natural capital against human capital. And to some extent, that's, maybe, a justifiable thing for them to do. But there are some forms of capital, like natural capital, that are, finite. And so these are the kinds of discussions that we'll be digging into today. And we're really pleased to be kicking off those discussions with a talk about some of the sort of planetary boundaries in the natural system. And to do that, we've got Professor Will Steffen. Will is an adjunct professor at ANU, the Australian National University in Canberra, and also a researcher at the Stockholm Resilience Centre. Until recently, he was the director of the ANU Climate Change Institute. He's also one of the government's climate change commissioners and a member of the ACT Climate Change Council. And previously, he's been director of the International Geosphere Biosphere Programme, which is, for those who don't know, there are 4 global, what I call global change research programs that do research on sort of natural systems and the environment. That's the World Climate Research Programme that I've been the vice chair of for the last 5 years. That looks obviously at climate change, the International Geosphere Biosphere Programme, which looks at all of the natural ecosystems on the planet, Diversitas, which looks at the living things on the planet, biodiversity, and the International Human Dimensions Programme, which actually recognises that people live on the planet as well. And there's now a move to bring all of those 4 programs together under a new initiative called Future Earth, and we met in Paris last week about how that will happen, and those will form a new organisation next year, which will hope to be fully operational by 2014, to provide the research input to all of the kinds of discussions that we'll be having here today. So I'm particularly pleased to welcome Will to talk about planetary boundaries.